This is breaking news.
Marjorie Taylor Greene tells the world she doesn't want her staff educated. Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has made a fool of herself once again after getting into a heated debate with the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention during the meeting of the House Committee Oversight on June 13th. The House Oversight Committee was meeting with the outgoing director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, as part of the committee's ongoing review of the policies and decisions made by the government during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Rochelle Walensky led the CDC for 2 years throughout the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in the U.S. and oversaw the organization's highly contentious response to the virus. Reuters reported on the day Walensky announced she was planning to retire. Reuters noted that Dr. Walensky was the face of the Biden administration's response to the pandemic along with Dr. Anthony Fauci, and one of the two main public personas of the federal government's efforts. She was often attacked by Republicans and the public. Things were no different for Dr. Walensky during her appearance in front of the House Oversight Committee's Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic, where one Republican lawmaker thought she was getting the better of the outgoing CDC director. Marjorie Taylor Greene got into a heated debate with Dr. Walensky and asked the CDC director a series of bizarre questions that led to the Georgia congresswoman admitting she really didn't want her staff educated on the reality of the vaccine's adverse effects. Greene started off her comments by stating that reporting on the adverse effects of the COVID-19 vaccines rose in 2021 to 728,829, and then suggested that the CDC director's advice to get a vaccine led to drastically increased rates of miscarriages and stillbirths. The Independent covered Greene's comments and pointed out the claim that any COVID vaccine was unsafe during pregnancy had been found false before going on to recount Greene's other conspiracy-laden comments in all their awkward culture warrior glory. But my question for you today, Dr. Walensky, is now that you're going to be leaving the CDC pretty soon, what job are you going to take? Greene asked the outgoing director. Are you going to be on the board of either Pfizer or Moderna? Because you've done one hell of a job at making sure that they've made a lot of money, Greene continued. Are you going to be on the board of either Pfizer or Moderna? Because you've done one hell of a job at making sure that they've made a lot of money, Greene continued. It is intended to have an over-reporting, Dr. Walensky said in a tone of voice that was obviously meant to convey her annoyance with Greene. Any adverse event if you got hit by a truck after you got your vaccine, that was reported, the CDC director explained. We at CDC have a responsibility to comb through every single one of them, to review the medical charts, and to see if they are related. Walensky continued, adding, it is the case the vaccine doesn't prevent being hit by a... Before she was cut off by Greene, you did nothing about that, and continued to push vaccines, Greene said, to which Dr. Walensky replied that the CDC reviewed all things that come through on the vaccine reporting system, adding, I'd be happy to have our staff educate your staff on the work. It was at this moment that Greene said the quiet part and responded, I don't want my staff educated, and said Walensky needed to educate the 1.5 million Americans who filed vaccine reports because they feel like you've done nothing. Political analysts were quick to make fun of Greene online, and Lincoln Project advisor Jeff Timmer mocked the Georgia congresswoman, fictitiously quoting her saying, ain't no way I'll let you give them any of that gobbledygook book learning. While the situation may seem funny, it does get to the heart of the issues with politics in America today. Facts no longer matter, and it seems as long as you believe in something enough, it will turn out to be true in the end, even if the evidence proves otherwise.